Hi, friends. There is a specific kind of craving that hits different. It's not the casual kind where you think, oh, something sweet sounds good. I'm talking about the craving that feels like it takes over your whole body. The kind where you're standing in the pantry at 9:37 at night, staring at the same snacks that you told yourself you were not going to touch. But now you're not calmly choosing anymore. You're searching for something salty, something sweet, something crunchy, something creamy, and something that makes the day feel a little less heavy for 5 minutes. And while you're standing there, there's usually a voice that's in your head saying, "Why am I like this? Why can't I just have self-control? I was doing so good. I knew I was going to mess this up." And what makes it feel worse is that you probably tried to be good all day. You kept your breakfast light, you picked at lunch, you drank more coffee, you told yourself that you didn't need the extra carbs, you ignored how tired you were, you pushed through the workout anyway. But then the night comes and your body starts demanding attention. So now you think the craving is the problem, but the craving may not be where the problem started. It may be the part of the story where your body finally gets your attention. Because for a lot of women, that night craving did not start at night. It started hours earlier with undereating, with stress, with exhaustion, with long gaps without food, caffeine early mornings, unstable blood sugar, and trying to be good all day. But when your body is underfueled long enough, the cravings often become louder, more urgent, and harder to ignore. Especially when you've been carrying emotional overload, trying to hold everything together while your body was only asking for more support. And this is where so many women misread themselves. They think, I lost control. But their body may have been under-supported long before the pantry moment ever happened. Welcome back to Your Relationships Are Keeping You Fat, the podcast where we look at the patterns shaping your health, your habits, and the way you experience yourself inside your body. I'm your host, Darla, and today we're talking about PMS cravings, and not in the surface level way, not in the drink more water and distract yourself kind of way, because that answer is usually too small for what is actually happening. So we're talking about the cravings that make women feel embarrassed, the ones that show up at night, the ones that feel urgent, the ones that make you feel like something hijacked your brain. The ones that leave you standing in the kitchen wondering why discipline suddenly disappeared. In the last episode, we talked about the week that women suddenly hate their body. The bloating, the inflammation, the outfit changes, the emotional spiral. And today, we're going deeper into one of the biggest reasons that week can feel so hard. Your hunger changes, your cravings change, your tolerance for restriction changes. And when you don't understand that, you may spend years blaming your character for something that your body has been trying to communicate. The craving is not always the enemy, and sometimes the craving is the signal. The craving is connected to something, but most women experience cravings like they came out of nowhere. Because one minute you feel fine, while the next minute you need chocolate or chips or cereal or peanut butter, or that sweet salty combination that suddenly feels like the only thing that makes sense. And because the craving feels intense, you assume that it means something negative about you. Like, I have no willpower. I'm addicted to sugar. I can't be trusted around food, or I always ruin my progress. But the cravings are rarely random. They are often connected to what your body has been carrying around all day, and sometimes all week, like your sleep, your stress, your cycle, your training load, your recovery, your blood sugar, your emotional bandwidth, your total energy intake, because your body keeps receipts. So, when you spend the whole day trying to eat as little as possible while also working, training, caregiving, performing, thinking, problem solving, and emotionally regulating everyone else, your body eventually starts asking for energy in a louder way. And that louder request often sounds like, I need something. That I need something feeling is one of the most important parts of this conversation because PMS cravings often do not feel like normal hunger. They feel like, I need something, but you don't always know what that something is. So you open the cabinet, you look in the fridge, and then you close it, you open it, and then you close it, and then you open it again. And you stand there like the answer is going to introduce itself from behind the Greek yogurt. And you may not feel physically starving in an obvious way, but sometimes you are depleted. You're underfed, you're overstimulated, you're emotionally tired, mentally drained, you're under recovered, low on patience, low on comfort, low on capacity. And then food becomes the first available source of relief. And it's not because something is wrong with you, because your body and your nervous system are looking for support. And the relief has a pattern. It usually shows up after the body has been asking quietly, but life has been too busy, too pressured, too demanding, or too disconnected for you to hear it earlier. So now let's talk about why this can feel stronger before your period. During the PMS phase, your body often requires more energy. And for many women, that may look like an additional 100 to 300 calories per day. And it's not because you suddenly lost discipline and it's not because your goals disappeared overnight. It's because your body is working harder behind the scenes. Your hormones are shifting, your body temp changes and increases slightly, your recovery demands can rise, your sleep can become lighter or more disrupted and your stress tolerance often decreases. At this point, your hunger and your food awareness can become more noticeable. And when those increased energy demands collide with the undereating, the chronic stress, the poor sleep, the intense training, your caffeine heavy mornings, or the long gaps without food, your cravings tend to become louder and more urgent, especially for the quick energy foods like bread, cereal, chocolate, chips, sugar, or carbs that the brain can access quickly. So if you are already depleted, already overstimulated, already trying to stay on track by eating as little as possible, the PMS hunger can feel intense. And your body is asking for additional support during the exact phase that many women respond with more restriction. And that is where so much confusion begins. Because women often interpret their increased hunger as proof that they are becoming lazy, emotional, undisciplined, or out of control, when their body may simply be responding to the increased physiological demand. So, what feels like a willpower problem is often a support problem. And when those needs kept getting ignored, the cravings stop feeling like feedback and they start feeling like failure. And this is where the pattern gets painful because the moment that the cravings increase, most women do not respond with support. They respond with fear. They think, Oh no, I'm getting off track. I need to tighten up. I need to stop eating so much. I need to cut carbs. I need to get strict again. So the breakfast gets smaller, the lunch becomes random, the carbs get pulled, the snacks get skipped, and dinner becomes a negotiation. But then the nighttime hits, and the body is done negotiating. So this is where women say, I don't know what happened. I was fine all day. But that may be the issue. You may not have been fine all day. You may have been overriding all day. And there is a difference. When you override your hunger long enough, your body often stops whispering and it starts shouting. And that shout may look like cravings. It may look like overeating. It may look like standing over the counter eating something that you didn't even plate. It may look like feeling out of control around the foods that you normally manage just fine. Then shame enters, and shame makes the pattern harder to see clearly. Night eating is often about what happened earlier. So, night eating is not always about the night. Sometimes nighttime is just when your body finally has room to speak. Because during the day, you're busy, you're moving, you're working, you're answering messages, you're taking care of clients, you're managing kids, you're handling tasks, you're running from one thing to the next. And there just may not be enough space to feel what your body has been trying to say. But at night, the house gets quieter. The work slows down, the pressure drops, just enough for your body to tell the truth. And suddenly, you feel it. The hunger, the fatigue, the emotions, the irritation, the loneliness, the overstimulation, the unmet need for comfort. And if your body was underfed earlier and your nervous system is looking for relief, well, food starts taking up more space in your mind. And that does not mean that you are weak. It means the pattern deserves attention. And this is where we have to be honest that not every craving is purely physiological. Sometimes your cravings are emotional too. Sometimes you are not just hungry for food, you are hungry for quiet, for comfort, for softness, for a break, for someone else to carry something for once, for 5 minutes where nobody needs anything from you. And when your body is already in a more sensitive phase, those needs can feel stronger. You may feel more emotional, more reactive, more easily overstimulated, more tender, more tired of being the one holding everything together. So the cravings become layered. They're part body, part nervous system, part emotion, part habit, part relief. And if you only treat it like a discipline problem, you miss the entire message. The craving may not be saying you're out of control. It may be saying you need more support than you've been giving yourself. And a lot of women also carry shame around the cravings because they were taught to moralize food. Good foods versus bad foods, clean foods versus cheap foods, foods you earn, foods you regret, foods you hide. So when the cravings show up, they do not just feel physical, they feel personal. Now, wanting chocolate becomes, I'm bad. Wanting carbs becomes, I'm failing. Wanting more food becomes, I can't trust myself. And that is where food starts carrying emotional weight It was never meant to carry. The next 6 months are going to pass either way. And the question is, will your habits, your body, and your energy feel any different? If you're ready for that to change, this is where we start. My signature 6 month body and lifestyle transformation is my most comprehensive coaching experience. This is for women who want structure, guidance, and support they can actually follow, not another plan to start over with. Inside, you'll get personalized training delivered through my coaching app, nutrition guidance tailored to your body and your lifestyle, weekly check ins for accountability and adjustments, and direct access to me for support along the way. This is about building consistency, trust with your body, and results that actually last. You can learn more and apply at missnewbootyfitness.com/coaching. That's missnewbootyfitness.com/coaching. Now back to the show. Food is not a character test, and hunger is not a moral failure. And craving something sweet before your period does not mean that you lost your identity overnight. High achieving women often struggle with this in a very specific way because they're used to pushing through discomfort and they know how to perform tired. They know how to work through stress and they know how to keep showing up while overwhelmed. So when cravings hit, they often try to out discipline their body with more structure, more control, more tracking, more rules, more pressure. But pressure does not always create peace around food. Sometimes pressure creates rebellion. Sometimes the stricter the system becomes, the more emotionally charged food becomes. Then the craving is no longer just about food. It becomes relief from feeling controlled all day. And that is why some women can follow a plan perfectly until nighttime, but then feel like a completely different person after dinner. And it is not because they lack commitment. It is because the system that they are using requires them to disconnect from themselves all day. And eventually, the body pushes back. And I want to talk about carbs here too, because so many women start fearing carbs during this exact phase that their body may need more support. They crave bread, potatoes, pasta, rice, cereal, chocolate, or something sweet after dinner. And immediately the thought becomes, I need to cut back. But sometimes the body is not asking for chaos, it is asking for energy. Carbs are one of the body's most accessible fuel sources. They help support energy, recovery, blood sugar stability, and even mood regulation during a phase where many women already feel more depleted, stressed, and emotionally sensitive. So, when you're training hard, you're sleeping poorly, you're stressed, you're under eating during the day, and your body is preparing for your period, pulling carbs lower and lower can actually make your cravings louder. And this does not mean that you need to respond impulsively to every craving, but it does mean you need to stop interpreting every craving as a threat. There is a difference between I cannot control myself around carbs and my body may need more consistent fuel and support earlier in the day. That distinction changes the entire conversation. So, what does support actually look like? It may look like eating a real breakfast instead of coffee and willpower. It may look like adding carbs to your lunch so you are not ravenous by dinner. It may look like building your meals with protein, fiber, carbs, and fat so that your body actually feels satisfied. It may look like eating enough during the day so that your body does not have to scream at night. It may look like planning something sweet intentionally instead of waiting until shame turns it into a pantry episode. It may look like lowering your training intensity instead of using another workout to punish the craving. It may look like going to bed earlier because sometimes the craving is exhaustion wearing a food costume. And if the body needs sleep, but you keep offering it restriction, caffeine, and judgment, the craving often comes back louder. And I see this with my clients all the time. A woman comes into a check in feeling ashamed because she had cravings at night. But before we make it about discipline, we look at the pattern. Did she eat enough earlier? Was lunch balanced? Did she skip carbs? Was she sleeping well? Was she in her PMS week? Was her training volume high? Was work stress heavy? Was she using coffee to push through fatigue? Was she trying to be good all day? Because when we zoom out, the craving will usually make more sense. Not always, but often. And that realization feels relieving for these women because they start realizing, wait, this might actually be connected to something. Maybe the craving was communication. Maybe my body was asking for attention earlier. And maybe support makes more sense here than punishment. That is where coaching becomes powerful. Not when we shame the behavior, but when we understand the pattern creating the behavior. And sometimes this overlaps with relief eating, that moment where food is not just about hunger, it is about needing the day to stop touching you. And you know what I mean. When you have been needed all day, talked to all day, pulled on all day, responsible all day, regulated all day, productive all day, and then nighttime finally gives you 1 second alone. This is something that I experience and deeply relate to at least once a week. So then you reach for something that gives your brain a quick exhale, a little dopamine, a little comfort, a little softness, a little pause. That does not make you a failure. It means that food has become one of the few places that your body knows how to access relief. And the goal is not to shame that. The goal is to build more ways to support yourself so that food does not have to carry the entire job. This is the light bulb moment. The craving is usually not the first signal. It is the loud signal. Before the craving, there may have been fatigue, irritability, poor sleep, tension, brain fog, stress, skipped meals, light meals, a harder workout, a low capacity day, a need for comfort that you never acknowledged. Your body usually starts communicating before it starts yelling. But many women were taught to ignore the whisper, but then shame themselves for the shout. And that is one of the biggest things that I want women to understand. You did not fail because your body got loud. Your body got loud because something needed attention. So instead of immediately asking, how do I stop craving this? Try asking, what might this craving be connected to? Did I eat enough today? Did I sleep enough? Did I recover from my workouts? Am I in the week before my period? Have I been trying to be too strict? Do I need more carbs? Do I need a real meal? Do I need rest? Do I need comfort? Do I need to stop turning every hunger cue into a character flaw? The goal is not to obey every craving. And it is not to fight every craving either. The goal is to understand what your body is asking for so that you can respond with more accuracy. So, if you know that cravings tend to increase before your period, stop waiting until you are already spiraling to support your body and start earlier. Add a little bit more food before the cravings become urgent. Build more satisfying meals. Do not skip your breakfast. Do not pull carbs just because the scale is temporarily up. Keep your protein steady. Add your fiber rich foods. Hydrate and prioritize your sleep. You can scale your training intensity if your recovery is clearly dropping. And plan a snack intentionally if nighttime tends to be your hardest window. And that could look like Greek yogurt with berries, a protein smoothie, or toast with eggs, having a balanced dinner with potatoes or rice, or something sweet portioned intentionally after your dinner. And it's not because you are giving in, it's because you are removing panic from the pattern. Intentional support feels very different from reactive shame. So this week, before you call yourself out of control, pause and ask yourself, did this craving truly come out of nowhere? Or were there signals earlier in the day? Was I tired, underfed, stressed, overstimulated, trying to be perfect, ignoring hunger because I wanted to feel more in control? Or using discipline to silence a body that needed support. Cravings become easier to understand when you stop treating them like proof that you failed. The craving is not always the problem. Sometimes the craving is the message. And if your only response to that message is going to be punishment, you miss the opportunity to understand your body more deeply. Your body is not trying to ruin your progress. It may be asking for energy, for recovery, for sleep, for emotional relief, for more support during a demanding phase, for you to stop under supporting it all day, then blaming it when the deprivation starts surfacing. Your hunger changing does not make you weak. Cravings increasing before your period does not mean that you are failing. And needing more support during certain phases of your cycle does not mean that you lack discipline. This is the kind of conversation that so many women needed years ago. Before they learned to fear carbs, before they learned to moralize hunger, before they started treating every craving like evidence that they could not be trusted. So, if this episode helped you understand your cravings differently, share it with another woman because so many women are not struggling because they lack discipline. They are struggling because nobody taught them how to interpret what their body is communicating. As you move through this week, pay attention to the cravings without immediately judging them. The sweet craving, the salty craving, the pantry moment, the late night, I need something, the urge to tighten control the next morning. And before you turn that moment into proof that you failed, pause and ask yourself, what might my body be trying to communicate here? Because the craving may not be betrayal. It may be communication. Stay connected to that, and I'll see you in the next episode.